Hey everyone,
Hey,
it's Kevin and Louisa with the Pewter Palace and thepewterpalace.com. We are coming to you from Willowall Campground in, well, I guess some people say Portage, Alaska. Other ones say Girdwood. That's the closest big town to us. We are on the Portage Whittier Highway. This is a U.S. Forest Service campground, dry camping, beautiful, all paved sites, brand new picnic tables.
brand new.
And we are surrounded by no fewer than 6 or 7 glaciers.
Glaciers.
So it is quite a beautiful place. And, the last 2.5 months, we've been doing a lot of camping, a lot of varied campgrounds.
Very much so.
Yeah, from private campgrounds to rest areas to national parks to county parks, state parks, and of course private parks as well. And it's staying anywhere from 1 night to 6 nights.
6 nights.
So we thought today we would just do kind of an informal chat with campground tips, covering both the public sector campgrounds as well as some tips for the private sector campgrounds. Some of this is going to be very applicable to anywhere in North America, Canada, the lower 48, or up here in Alaska. Other ones might be a little more tilted towards the Alaska side of things, just because, you know what, that's where we are.
That's where we are.
That's where we're spending our summer. So let's start with some basics as far as private campgrounds go. It is no secret that you have to plan way far out in advance these days. That's just the way of the world.
The way it is now.
But up here in Alaska, we've been able to wing some things a little bit more because people tend to be moving around a lot, and you're not around big hub cities. And that's the point I think we want to make, is that if you are up in New England,
Yes,
or you are around big hub cities, major tourist cities, you need to absolutely do advance reservations. Don't be the person that makes 16 advance reservations and then is a no-show.
Yep.
If you are going to amend your dates, please notify the campground so that other people might be able to use your unused spot. We have seen a lot of that.
Yes.
Everywhere, in private campgrounds as well as public campgrounds. People reserve a site and then they never show up. Some states are getting a lot more strict on that.
And also the national parks and Forest Service.
Right. Couple tips that we do when we pick campgrounds. Obviously, you want to do some research on Campendium, on The Dirt, which are 2 apps that you can, and online services you can use to read reviews. Google reviews, pretty basic, simple stuff. We use RV Trip Wizard for our trip planning. We do not use their GPS, but we use it for the trip planning, and they have reviews in there. Some of them are a little dated. I've been trying on this trip to put reviews in so that it's fresh information.
Yes, up to date.
Please do that whenever you stay at a campground. Do a review, even if it's just on Google, just so there's current information there, because things have changed, certainly, for campgrounds. So tips on private campgrounds for picking a site. If you can pick a site and you do want some type of hookups, we find our comfort zone, at least my comfort zone, is I'd like to have electricity. If I can have electric and water and there's a dump station somewhere in the campground, that's cool. That's fine.
I have to go do it. So
yeah, well, dumping your tank is dumping your tank. Whether you're doing it at your site or you're doing it at a dump station. Or
waiting in line with the other 30 people on Monday morning.
So that's one of the tips, that we want to share. But as far as site selection goes, we always try, if we can, to pick a site that's on the end of a row.
Yes.
And with that also meaning that the way we pull through, typically they are on a diagonal when they're end of rows like that.
Yeah.
We try to do it so that our curbside, our door side, is facing towards that end, because you tend to have this nice swath of grass, preferably.
Yes,
and
preferably.
Very oftentimes, if you look on the site map of the campground, there's nothing across from you. There may be woods, there may be a dog walk, there may be, whatever. But on an end site, you do tend to pick up a little more privacy and a little more space. You don't feel totally socked in. That being said, when we were coming out here and in British Columbia in Whitehorse, we pulled into a private campground that was supposed to have a site reserved for us. Well, lo and behold, they did away with that site over the winter. Didn't notify us.
No.
Put us in the next site over. And when we looked at it and we realized that the Class A motorhome right next to us, their slide out was
halfway over the picnic table, our picnic table, covering into our site.
Like covering the whole picnic table.
Yeah.
So that's how narrow that site was. So what we did, or what Kevin thought to do, was instead of go in the normal, what everybody was going in, we flipped around and we went in from the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So now, instead of coming out our door and literally looking at the wall of this Class A,
would have been like that much away from his wall.
Yeah.
The door wouldn't open.
Yeah. And you will find that a lot up here. Okay. Yeah. They're just, they got 4 months to make money, and they're sliding as many people in
a parking lot
type campgrounds, a lot of them up here.
So grabbed the handyman. He came over with a tractor, picked up the table, because we were going to use it anyways.
Get that out.
Because there was quite literally no way I could go in there without having the picnic table moved out of the way. So he moved it. I came around the opposite way. So we pulled in. So we're only about maybe 8-9 inches away from his sliding, which was in our site. But we had the nice wall, they put up.
We had a wood stockade
fence. And
that was like 6 feet from our door.
Yeah, 6. So we had enough room to get out.
At least when we had our picture window, our windows open on that side, the
stockade fence.
Yeah, the street side where the Class A was, those shades just basically stayed down the whole time.
Yeah.
But so think about that when you're going into a site. If you feel like you're going to be literally like nosing, out your door into somebody's slide, look at the possibility of coming in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
As long as it's not, busy rush hour, you can get in as long as the angle isn't totally absurd. So think about that. End site, flipping around, coming in an opposite direction. You may get more privacy, more breathing room, a little bit of place to put your chairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, so reviews, and don't be afraid, like Kevin said, don't be afraid to say to the campground owner, hey, look, this is not going to work for us. No. We need a different site. We've had to do that on several occasions as well up here. Also, with the campgrounds, don't hesitate if you are running early and you want to get in earlier than the 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock check-in, give them a call. If the site is available, 99% of the time they will say, come on in. You know what? If you can pick up an extra couple, 3-4 hours, it's just that much more relaxing for you. On the flip side, I don't think we've ever had to request an extended stay because we can't get out of here by the 11 o'clock checkout or whatever it is. Be a good doobie on that. If checkout is, boom, monster mosquito. Yeah. If checkout is 11 a.m., get your butt out of that campsite by 11 a.m. Let's see what else on the tips on a private. Yeah, I'm talking private campground here. Also, if you've booked a site and it's an okay site, you were okay with it, but you knew in the booking and the research process that there was like site 14 was like choice, really cool. call the day before, call the morning of when
Oh.
you're en route, or even when you literally get into the office to check in. Ask if that site is available before you go into your reserved site. If they've had a cancellation in that site, or that person has changed their dates, it may not necessarily reflect online, and they can tell you, and you might be able to scoot into that choice site instead of the site you kind of settled for your reservation.
They may not be on their computer that day or even the next day to update things. Yeah, mosquitoes are terrible out there. But so
They're
if
not
you're
as
there,
bad. They're not as bad as some places
you
we've
know,
been.
if you're there, ask. And 95% of the time, they're okay. No problem. It's available.
Oh yeah,
For your time period.
they'll move you around. Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely they will. Now, let's get to what is fresh in our mind about like the U.S. Forest Service. That does come under the National Park Service. So if you have a military park
doesn't-
pass access, sometimes it covers.
It's a different department.
Well, it's still under the
U.S.
National.
U.S. Department of Agriculture. It's a subdivision, National Park
Okay,
Service.
I'm sorry.
But the passes are interdepartmentally used. You
Right.
can use them in
Right,
Corps of Engineers,
right.
all that.
So Corps of Engineers, U.S. Forest Service, National Parks, all will accept those cards. The military, the veterans one,
Is limited.
is very limited as to what kind of discounts it will give you. But it's still not bad to have.
Not bad to have.
I have the senior lifetime all access
And I have the
pass.
veterans.
Right.
Or just a backup.
Or you can buy, if you're not, mature enough to have the senior one, then you can still buy your annual pass. It's well worth it if you're going to
The
stay
$80 a year.
in any of those three: Corps of Engineers, National Parks, and the U.S. Forest Service.
Because the discounts at getting into places for free.
Yeah.
50% at the campgrounds, most campgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And 50% like Icefield Parkway and things like that.
Parkway,
I
like
mean,
that.
stuff like that. You can use different passes for. So when we came in here, it was drizzly gray. It has been. We chose today to videotape because it's like the first sunny day we've had.
like we're talking
In a
to
week.
the forest ranger and the boat people today. This is only the 5th sunny day they've had all summer.
Yeah.
And it's the 20th of July already.
But what's wild is we're 50 miles from Anchorage. Anchorage, on the flip side, we could have been having rain the other day, and Anchorage could have been beautiful.
Gorgeous.
I mean, you just like somebody was in Homer. They just reported they were in Homer like yesterday, and it was absolutely gorgeous, sunny. And here it was, gray, overcast, raining, and everything. When we came in, first of all, in the Forest Service ones, at least up here, checkout is at noon. We arrived, the last two campgrounds we've been at for the last 4 days, 2 nights each time, we arrive at 12:15. Because technically, people should have been, if they were leaving that day, they should have been out. Which means we're sneaking in there before the end of the day, before people start saying, well, it's almost
official check-in is at 2 p.m.
2 o'clock, right? Nobody's going to prevent you from coming in, especially when so many of the sites are first come, first serve. So when we came in here, there is an Iron Ranger. It's the box with the envelope, and first thing you do is look for if they do have a handout camp map, which most of them are not doing that anymore. They did have a site map, but don't waste your time on that. Grab the envelope. You have 30 minutes to find a campsite and get that envelope back and deposit
You have
it.
30 minutes once you occupy the site.
Yes, I'm sorry. Once you
Yes,
occupy
by
your
the
site.
site.
So this campground has two.
But they're in no
basically
big hurry. They're not coming around until
No,
hours later.
especially not when it's raining.
No.
So we came in, and at first and this happened to us actually at the last campground we were at on Summit Lake, and that was
2 days ago.
2 days ago. You'll see a lot of reserved signs on the posts. Well, that's all well and good. Look closer at those reserved signs. What
And the dates may have been worn down.
Right. The camp hosts are responsible to put out on the posts what date that site has been reserved for online or through a phone call or whatever. that date may be 2 or 3 days from now,
or 4 or 5,
or 4 or 5.
longer.
There might be 3 cards on that post. One for 2 days from now, another one for 4, so maybe it could be booked for a week, but that doesn't start for 3 or 4 days.
So you find your site you like. You look at the date and reserve. It says, okay, you can occupy it for 3 days. And then you have to move to another site.
Right.
But normally, if it's unoccupied, not reserved, it's 14 days.
Right.
You
can
can
stay
stay
14
there.
days. And it's good that at first it throws you because, you see this red reserved and you think in your mind, oh, that one's taken, that one's taken. Slow down. And if you see one you really like, even if you have to get out of the car, which we had to do yesterday in the rain, I had to get out
the
and
rain
look
wears them
closer
off.
because, it's like a wax crayon or something. Look at the dates. Like this site, it's reserved starting tomorrow. But their check-in isn't until 2 o'clock. We have until noon to get out of here. So we found this great site, number 18, back in, we could fit because we overlap, because of our height of our rig, we can overlap a lot. So we can get into some of the shorter sites that maybe a longer, bigger fifth wheel or something can't. So read those reserved signs. That's the tip.
Yeah.
Don't just assume because you see a placard that says reserved that means somebody's
we're
like
so
left
accustomed to
for
seeing
the
reserved, that
day or
means
something. Right.
It's not. You just have to get
No.
out, check the dates, and limits is how many days you can stay there.
Right. Right. The reason they do that is so that if you find a site and you pull in, they want you to know that, well, if you want to stay 2 weeks, you're not going to be able to stay
at
2
this
weeks
site.
in that site because somebody's going to come knocking on your door in 2 days on the 21st and say, hey, I reserved this site. You got to, get out of here.
So now we got the site. We have half an hour after occupation, fill our paperwork, cash or check, or then put down our America Beauty Pass
Right,
or
the
Senior Citizen
pass number.
Pass,
Mhm.
and go back, and the Iron Ranger deposit it. Later that evening, the caretakers would come around to verify that your number, your pass number, is legit, and you do have the card, and you actually have it. Because people have been using their aunts, uncles' numbers, or numbers they found online. So they want to verify that you are who you are, and you are entitled to that discount.
Yeah. And these last 2 U.S. Forest Service campgrounds we've stayed in, and we've stayed in a lot of national parks, and
Yes.
it's the first time that's ever been checked. And she verified that, it's a new policy. And, that's good. I mean, when you get those passes, the pass information clearly says you are required to have that thing on you at all times. When you're in a national park or any of these subsidiary, departments that you can use that pass for. So no big deal. And if you do, go out for the day and you have like a Class B or something like that, you have your little placard there. I always suggest
And they recommend leaving some lawn chair
leave
or
something.
something that
that's what I was
quite
gonna
obvious,
mention,
or
yeah.
somebody has used the pink noodles across the front. So
That
it's like
works.
it quite, it
And
really shows up.
if they get stolen or they blow away, it's not,
not a big
it's
deal.
no big deal.
And I don't think Grizzly's really careful on too much.
Yeah, no.
Others do.
When you put the envelope will have a receipt tear-off thing. That is what you verify and you put on the post at the end of your site. Put that in a plastic bag. And then sometimes there's a clip, sometimes there's just a screw. I just made a hole with my key of my car and put it on there. Put it in a plastic bag so that if the dew and stuff like that doesn't wreck it, because that also is your receipt.
Yes.
So the last tip on that is when you leave, take that thing off and take it with you. Don't forget and leave it there because again, somebody coming down the road may see that and think, oh, they're a Class B or a C and they've driven into town for the day, and so.
And if you get up in the morning and it's not there, sometimes the caretakers come around early morning.
Oh yeah, they do.
And
that.
just when they do their checks, they just take them with them.
Yeah.
But if you want it, you go back to the caretakers and request for them to turn it back to you. As your
I had to
receipt.
do that at Tenderfoot, which is the one the U.S.
Because
Forest
technically
Service
that is
moved
your
us
receipt.
to. Yeah, right. I also took a picture once I hung
Yes.
my tag up on our post.
Yep.
I took a picture of it with our truck and our camper and that tag
Yep.
visible, so that
There is
if
no
we're
questions.
because originally we were thinking we might take the rig out for the day, go over to Whittier through the tunnel that way. We're going to do it tomorrow morning instead.
Yes.
So yeah, just as another little backup, proof that you have it, and double check, that billboard or the signage and stuff when you come in. They will also have notifications of any animal activity, any specific bear warnings, things like that. Also, they'll have because again they don't tend to do the handouts much anymore, and we're in areas where there's zero cell signal, so
Yes.
forget trying to look up like where's the hiking trail. They'll have laminated on the wall, they'll have signs with where there's hiking trails and things like that that you can use. Let's see, what was the other county parks that we have stayed at function very much the same. Sometimes there might be a military discount, so don't forget to ask that, military, active, or veteran. Sometimes there's a senior discount too on county parks. The county parks we've stayed in have been great. Really nicely maintained, very friendly staff. Oftentimes a camp host. And what was that state that the county park we stayed at where the camp hosts, they stayed 1 month?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Very cool.
The county has 3 campgrounds, and you can stay as a camp host for a month or the entire season, or scheduled to rotate throughout those 3 for the summer.
Yeah, I could handle a month in one place. I'm not sure if I can handle a whole summer yet.
And
We like to move around too much.
And sometimes we'll have a county fairgrounds with, it's just a basic water, maybe get electric, and a dump station in that area.
Yeah. These forests we are in the Chugach National Forest, and so that's why these are all operated from the U.S. Forest Service. They do have the hand pump water, sporadically through the campground, and they have vault toilets.
So when you're doing the dry camping, come, empty your tanks, fill up your water, and enjoy yourself here.
I actually find this type of camping a lot more peaceful and restful. Some people get very
camping
anxious.
in a parking lot?
Some people get very anxious with dry camping. I actually find it very relaxing. And with our battery bank system and the size of our tanks, we can, I don't know, how many days can we go?
Oh, over 10, no problem.
Yeah. But we're typically we find our camping, this has been a good test for us, especially since we're exploring so many new worlds here, but 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 nights is comfortable. So we'll do a run of like maybe 1 night somewhere just to get to a place, and then we'll do 2 or 3 nights. That gives us time to check out the area, and certainly we haven't seen everything we want to see, and we will be back to Alaska, but not till probably 2026 or so. And any other tips we would give you for the campgrounds? This is kind of an off one, but we have found that we almost threw out in our purging of stuff a small roll-up 6x8. I want to say 6x8, 5x7. One of those outdoor, the plastic camping
mats.
That's been a lifesaver.
Yes.
Because more times than not, you don't want to put out a big patio rug. But that little one, especially when you get into some sites that have either overgrown grass or muddy grass, or it's raining a lot, that thing has been a lifesaver.
Cracking in.
It does. It really does.
Your normal mats and scrapers.
And we just roll it up and throw it in the back of the truck, and that has been really a good thing to have. So I think that'll be enough for some tips. park on the end sites when you can, flip around in a campsite if the site warrants a better space or view from the opposite side, especially if you're getting there a little bit early enough. Get to the state and the national and the county parks, especially if they have first come, first serve. Get there right after checkout time and scope out your sites. Look at the ones that have reserved to see what the dates are, because
and the time available,
it may not be for 2 or 3 days.
If it's your schedule and you
Right.
like the site, snag it up.
Snag it up. Oh, and somebody, if you have to do some kind of looping around or something, somebody hop out and stand in that campsite.
So have a chair available so somebody sits there.
Sit there. Especially if you have to go like around to maybe fill your water or something like that, or you want to dump.
You have your little tag already put there and put it on the stand.
Yes, because you've already taken your envelope out of the Iron Ranger box before you enter the campground. And have it, fill it out, and put it on that post if you have a pen with you. But at least somebody stand there, because if you're not there, you could loop around and somebody else could snag that site literally. That's what happened to us at Tenderfoot. We came in, the one site I had hoped for was available. We backed in, and within 15 minutes, like 4 RVs came in behind us, and whew, All right, this is Louisa
and Kevin,
and we are the Pewter Palace and thepewterpalace.com and our 1987 32-foot 32S model vintage Avion travel trailer. Love having you with us. Hope you learned a little bit. Hope we imparted maybe a tip that you didn't know before. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Patreon. Find us. We're all over. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
See you again soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.